What problems are troubling you? What's frustrating you, bothering you, worrying you? Want solutions? Want answers? Welcome to Here We Come to Save the Day, hosted by David Adelson. This podcast is dedicated to solving everyday and global problems in an uplifting, fun, enjoyable way. There is a solution to whatever's troubling you. Ask your questions and we'll do our best to give you practical, useful, workable solutions you can use starting today. Join us now with David's special guest experts who will share their own experiences, life lessons, and practical strategies for creating the life you long for. Start living your best life today, right now, with David Adelson and friends.
Welcome to another fun episode of Here We Come to Save the Day. I'm very excited to have with me a very brilliant man that I had the pleasure of meeting and spending some time with. You and your partner are both incredible. We'll tell you a little bit about him in a second. It's Carl Hunter, and today we're going to solve the problem of eliminating doubt, worry, and fear. So welcome, Carl. Thank you for being on the show.
Well, thank you for having me, David. It's great to be here.
So tell people just in a nutshell what we're going to talk about today, and then I'll give them a little bit about your background.
Sure. So what we're going to talk about today is how we can upgrade our consciousness and eliminate doubt, worry, and fear, and all of the things that really stand in our way of achieving the things that we'd like to achieve in our lives through reprogramming our subconscious minds.
So this whole idea of subconscious minds, I've had several interviews lately where people are addressing this. I think it's a leading edge. I think this is a very important thing for people to realize that, and I think you'll get this. I was working with one guy once, and I said, "You're blocking whatever it was." He had been working for years on this one thing, and I said, "You're blocking you getting it." And he said, and his response was shock and, "Why would I do that?" Yeah. You know, it's not conscious. So. I'm very happy about what we're going to be talking about today. I know you can offer some brilliant insights. I've heard you speak, and I'm happy about this today. Let me tell people a little bit about you. Carl Hunter is an artist, entrepreneur, transformation coach, and subconscious mind programming expert. He is the creator of the amazing new MindPower Acceleration Technology called MindFlavors. He began the self-development journey early in life, and at age 26, he discovered a powerful method to reprogram his own subconscious mind. This allowed him to achieve his dreams by age 31 of traveling the world, getting into the diamond business, and moving to the Virgin Islands, where he spent many years. In early 2015, Carl discovered some ancient power secrets, and using these ideas, he invented his revolutionary technology that is freeing humanity from limited thinking. And I love this idea of freeing humanity from limited thinking because I am a firm believer, as you well know, that the sky's the limit and that we're our own blocks. So let's start with, in essence, what do you think is the most important point you want to tell people today?
Well, I would say the most important thing is that what you are looking at in your world is a creation of the past, and it's based on the beliefs that we've established in our subconscious mind usually in our impressionable years when we're young, when that part of our brain is being developed, that part of our mind is being developed. And so what we're experiencing, the ease or not ease in which we live our lives, is in direct correlation with what's in that program. And so reality is not a fixed thing. And when you start to work with your subconscious mind with some of the advanced tools and techniques that we use, you quickly see that you can change reality very fast. And so really the most important thing I'd like to say right off the top is that you can change your reality, and what you're experiencing, you can change in almost the blink of an eye. You can transform what you're experiencing, and you can change your consciousness very quickly and have a completely different reality experience.
Thank you. I so appreciate that, because I know that's true. I know that reality, I know that we bring to the table what's going on. When we talk about the multiverse, one of the things that I've been aware of is the multiverse isn't something that's out there right now. That if we have 3 point whatever it is billion people on the planet right now, we have 3 point blank whatever it is universes right now, because
Yes.
they're all seeing things completely differently. And just as you said, it's based on the past that we're interpreting it. We talk a lot about the same thing about this idea of where we give our power to, where we give our authority to. I'd like to explore a little bit about how everybody's reality is different. There is an expression in the Vedic literature, the old stuff in India, that says the world is as we are. And there's this wonderful quote by Rumi, who, if that's how you pronounce his name, where he talks about when he was young, he wanted to fix the world, and now that he was older and wiser, he realized that he only needed to fix himself. So let's talk about that a little bit. What do you want to talk about how it worked for you? Do you want to tell your story or use some examples with people that you've worked with? But let's share with people, the possibilities, if you will.
Sure. Well, with what we do right now, we've been guiding people through a 30-day, actually it's a 90-day transformation. Starts out with 30 days, three 30-day transformations for about a year and a half now. And the types of things that we're seeing are just astonishing. And so we guide them through 3 different processes that we use. One of them is a writing process, and this is I'm sorry, I want to cover that, but can you give me some examples of the results that you've seen? Sure. Just about anything that you can imagine that you would like to change or experience in your world, you can create that. Now, I've done thousands of experiments. I've used them in every aspect of my life. I've used it to travel around the world. I've used it to sell millions of diamonds. I've used it in sales for years to become top in sales, all kinds of things, just about anything you can imagine. Whatever you have a belief around, which is everything, that can be shifted and changed through these processes. And so any type of thing that you would like to have show up in your experience, you can align with that and it will show up in your experience.
So give me 1 or 2 or 3 very specific examples. Someone was fat, they got thin. You weren't a salesman and you became a salesman. Give me some very specific, concrete examples of particular things that people had a belief about, and then you worked with them and then that changed.
Sure. Well, I can tell you a very recent one that I did where we originally met was at the New Media Summit event. And the way that I got my ticket for that event was I won a contest. And I used the writing process to win that ticket. And I didn't just win it once. He had another contest a couple months later, and I decided to enter it again, and I won it again. And so, what are the odds that out of about 200 people each time that I would win both times? It's because I aligned with that. I programmed it. The night before he did the drawing, I wrote some very specific things about winning the contest and winning the ticket.
Following your techniques, you wrote.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Now, by the way, this was just the writing process, which is the manual process, which is fantastic. And at the same time, it's not nearly as accelerated as the MindFlavors technology.
Okay.
But it is very specific. You can get very specific with the writing process. It's what I love about it. And the more integrated a person's mind becomes, the more powerful the writing process becomes.
So when someone's, now I know you have some introductory things that you want to share with people. So let's cover those right now, because I want to spend a little bit more time on what the process is, but I also want to focus on, what our listeners can do today to begin this process. So one of the first things they can do is obviously go to your website, go to your download, go to your house, knock on the door. What do they need to do?
Well, right off the bat, you can download my free ebook, and you can get that at mindflavors.com/ebook. And you can download that, and you can right away, you can start using that literally tonight. This process is easy, it's free, it's easy to do. Anybody can do it. All it requires is a pen and paper. Okay.
So can you, if we're going to, what is the first thing they're going to read when they get that ebook? What is it? Give me 2 or 3 steps it's going to tell them to do, if that's comfortable for you. I don't mean
Sure,
to.
I'd be happy to.
So that they can do that even while they're waiting for the download process. They can go ahead and get started.
Absolutely. So here's how the process works. And I'll tell you exactly. First of all, I'm going to tell you, it's so simple that your mind might say, oh, how could that possibly do anything? But I can tell you it's very effective. I've been using it for about 33 years now with amazing results, and many, many other people as well. And so the process is very simple. All you do is you handwrite in cursive, and there's a reason why it's in cursive, which is script, just before you go to sleep. You can do it within 30 minutes of going to sleep, but preferably it's the last thing that you do before you go to sleep, so that there are no other distractions going on. And you describe what you would like to experience in the present tense as though it already exists. Now, there is an art to doing this, and I have done literally thousands of experiments with this to figure out what kind of cause and effect happens from different words, different phrases, different constructions of sentences, and so forth. And in the ebook, so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel, I give you lots of templates and where you can just plug in the word that you'd like to put in there, and you can start doing it right away, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, that's very cool. I am very aware. In fact, on my last interview, we were also talking about this, about the importance of what words we use. I love that you brought up about the different tenses and how we, just all of this of how we create and picture and view ourselves, how we create through our speech and through our writing. It's real clear to me why you would use cursive. I know a lot. I don't know if this is true for you. For some of the processes that we use for people, if we explain how it works to them, it won't work for them. Because then their intellect is involved, and then that stops the process from happening spontaneously. And it's very easy for me to see the integration that takes place when you're writing in script, how it's neuromuscular, how it goes deeper. I get all of that. So one of the things that they can do is, before they go to bed, start writing out what they would like to experience. They're writing it in the present tense, your ebook, it's mindflavors.com/ebook.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So they can start with that. What can they expect to see as the outcome of that? So if they write, I'm going to win the lottery, I have won the lottery, what do we, and I'm not necessarily, I'm using that as an example because many people, I don't want to say foolishly, I want to say hopefully believe that there is a one thing that can happen that will transform their lives, and they pin that on the lottery, but that's not accurate for so many reasons. But what is it that someone can expect to happen? Does it take days, weeks, months? Give me a little bit more about that.
You can see results literally overnight. So,
very cool.
So when an example, a few years ago when I was living in the Virgin Islands, I was working with a big jewelry company, and out of Brazil, major company. And I was the first one to do these. They had me start this on the cruise ships, where I would go and do a lecture and do a trunk show and cater to the clientele there. And when I got there and showed up in Guatemala on the gangplank, I met the guy there, and he said, I had no idea what was going to happen. So he said, I have you booked tomorrow. You're speaking in front of 300 people and you have an hour. So I was like, okay.
Did you know what you were going to say?
No idea.
This is cold. You're just like, here you go. You're on stage and you're like, oh my God, I don't know. Okay.
And this was in the late afternoon when I showed up. Okay. So I went to my cabin and I thought, well, all right, what's the best way to have the positive outcome that I'd like? And so I dialed in on what I'd like to have. I'd like to be a huge success here. I'd like to be confident on stage. I'd like to speak freely. And so I wrote a few things like that I do those things, not that I'd like to. I specifically wrote that I speak with clarity. I am successful with this, and so on.
Did you use numbers? Did you say X number of dollars, or did you just say successful?
I did not. And you can. And sometimes it can be helpful. Sometimes it can be limiting. Now, let me explain that the rest of this story will show you how that could have been limiting.
Please, yes.
Maybe not. It could have been, we could have exceeded that, I'm sure. But anyway, so long story short, I got up there to speak, and I decided that I would talk about a little bit about what I was doing there, and then open it up for questions. And I did, and we had an amazing response. And over a 2.5 day period, we sold over $100,000 in jewelry. We broke the record, their all-time record on the cruise ship. Every one of the crew members that were doing the concessions with me all got double their pay because we broke the record, and they threw a great big party for me and gave me a bunch of gifts at the end.
Wow. So that is cool. So when you said, what I'm here to do, did you just say, I'm here to sell you diamonds? Or did you say, I'm here to fulfill your, I mean, what did you say? Do you remember?
Yes, I talked about the company. I talked about how the quality of the stones, how we manufacture the stones all the way from the ground to the finished piece of handmade jewelry, and that it's a vertically integrated company. And I talked about the quality and how it's handmade, and the different ways why it's superior to do things in certain ways, and told them that the company's been around for 60 years, and we're having an open house, a showing in the concessions today, and they could come and take a look. And then I just opened it up for questions. I must have spoken for about maybe 5 minutes prior, and the rest of the time I opened it up for questions to the audience, and we had a great conversation. And the outcome was, now that was just what was sold on the ship. Right. When we got to St. Thomas, where I lived, which was where our main store was, they did a whole bunch more business from that.
So that's very cool. That's a very specific thing. What else have you specifically, or one of your clients? I love that, because that's a very specific intention, result. I love that it was like 24 hours from when you started. Did you use more than the writing technique, or just the writing technique for that one, or how did that
one was just the writing technique? This was prior to me inventing the MindFlavors technology.
That is fabulous. Good. So did you want to go into a little bit, where do you want to go now? Do you want to tell them a little bit more, some steps? Do you want to tell another story of somebody who had equally profound results in a different area of life? Or what do you feel would be most useful to our audience right now?
Well, I do have a funny story of how with this programming, it is very specific, and it's funny, all the experiments that I've done on this, it's very interesting to see how things show up. And I've learned that it's important to be very mindful about what types of words you're using, because words often have more than one meaning. So it's important to think through what those potential meanings could be when you're going to be doing this type of programming, because it's very powerful. And also, when I was after moving from St. Thomas to New York, I was in the diamond business with a diamond manufacturer. And one of the guys that I worked with was getting married. And so he was going to India to get married. And so the head guy said to me, well, I had been doing some programming, specific writing about traveling freely around the world. Now, at the time, my purpose of saying freely was about my freedom, because I was traveling to different countries that sometimes, you pay attention to your freedom. And so that was my focus at the time. Little did I know that the head guy there was going to offer to buy my trip to India. And so I said, yeah, sure, I'll go. And then between the time he set up the ticket and the time I was going, I had a change of plans because I was going to stop in Italy on the way back. And so I did, and I did the trip, and I got home. And I thought, I looked at my writing, my notebook, and I looked at one of the last things I wrote was about traveling freely around the world. And I thought to myself, let me trace my path. And sure enough, I traced my path, and just on that trip, I went all the way around the world because I changed my flight path, and it was free.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fabulous. That's a much better one than we use. The story that, because we're, again, very equally, the way that you use the words is important, because we say you could ask for orange juice, and what you get is a commercial and an ad in a magazine for frozen concentrate 3 days later, and it gets checked off that you got your orange juice, but that's not what your intention was. Yours worked out much better. So
yes.
I love that, but I love that you're bringing out the importance that, this, when we're creating what we want to create in our life, and this is our life, this is the currency, our experiences are the currency, whether you want to say that we offer God, that we offer the world, that gets to be what we do with our life. And many people, again, because of past training, culture, whatever it is, they pay very little mind to it. And what I'd like to point out is, a lot of times for important things, and even for non-important things, you want to hold your finger on the chess piece long enough to look around and see all the ramifications, and am I asking for it right? Yours worked out fabulous. So congratulations, Carl, that was great. So aside from the writing, getting the ebook, what would be the next step that you would recommend that people do today and again, we're focused particularly today on eliminating, doubt, worry, and fear, which we all know holds us back in so many ways, whether, we doubt ourselves, we worry what other people think, we worry if we're doing it right, we worry what the future holds for us. We are afraid to take a step forward, to take a step back, and afraid to stay where we are. None of this helps us. So shall we start with the writing? How will the writing help us eliminate fear?
Well, you can do things like that with the writing process, but it is a slower process.
Okay.
And about a little over 5.5 years ago, I was asking myself, how can I make this process go faster? And that was what led me to invent the MindFlavors technology. So what you can do today, because I've invested years of my life into this and produced this technology, today you can actually experience it for the first time for free. And it starts working in only 4.5 minutes. And what it does is it eliminates doubt, worry, and fear. And I know that sounds like a pretty bold thing to say. And it is. And quite frankly, prior to experiencing this technology, I did not know that it was possible, nor have I seen anybody else who's experienced it, who's told me that they have ever experienced anything like this before, or even thought that it was possible to experience. And I'll just tell you a funny little story about that. When I was living in New York with Amy in our loft, it was when I was first creating the technology, and I didn't realize that the raw technology was actually working on me, and it was changing my consciousness without me knowing it. And I remember we were sitting there, and it was a big open space, and I recall I was doing something, looking down, and I noticed that I was hearing quiet in my head, no chatter, nothing, pure peace. And I felt completely peaceful. And I thought, and at the time we had a lot of things going on and plenty of things to worry about. And we had been in that state. And suddenly I was feeling this, and it felt so foreign to me. And I thought, I'm not able to worry about anything. And I started thinking about it, and I tried to worry about something. And I thought, well, what about this? Because I know there's this going on. And that didn't make me feel worried. And I thought, that's really strange. And I looked across the loft, and I said to Amy, I said, I just realized that I can't worry about anything. Can you? And she sat there for a second. She goes, no. And I said, try to worry about something. She says, I can't. And this is what all of our members are experiencing. Even during the times that we're in right now with all of what's going on, we meet with them all one-on-one, and all of them are in a peaceful state. All of them are not in a fearful state, because the doubt and the worry and the fear is gone. These patterns, these subconscious patterns that you can manually change one by one, so to speak, are with the MindFlavors technology. It just wipes that stuff out in literally 4.5 minutes. Yeah. And every time somebody watches this for the first time, it's such a pleasure, such a joy for me to see, because you can see the transformation. And if you go to mindflavors.com/VIP, you can watch the before and after videos of a number of people who are experiencing it for the first time, and you can see for yourself.
That's fabulous. That's so exciting. I, again, totally resonate with what you're saying. We did a live event a couple of years ago, and one of the things that we did was on the first morning, it was a 2-day event, and on the first morning we wrote all these things, including things like doubt and worry and fear and all these negative things. And then during the course of the 2 days, while we were covering other things, we cleared it for all the people in the audience, and we would just erase it. And once it was cleared, we took it off the board. And at one point, one of the people was like he said he spent half an hour trying to remember what it was that had been there. And then I looked at him, I said, don't do that. Don't try to bring it back, I love yours. I love the fact that, here's a technology that's so good in the world that can help eliminate these things that are so literally holding us back from living our full potential, from experiencing our best possible life. I love that you can do it in 4.5 minutes. I love that you're sharing this with people. I want to give a little shout out to our Peace and Harmony program, which is available for free at peaceandharmonydownload.com, which creates a pocket of peace around you, about 3 feet to 15 feet to a little bit more, depending on where a person is. Completely free. People have noticed that their thinking is clear, that they feel a lot better, that there's less struggle at work. We also offer bigger systems that can cover your family, your house, your neighborhood, your business, your country, your world, whatever you want, and talk about that. And to start, go to peaceandharmonydownload.com and just click play, and it'll start working for you completely free. It's 100% silent, quantum energy. You don't need to know how it works. It just works. Play it around the clock. So that's my little plug for that, because we're trying to give away 1 million of those, and we're all trying to work for this kind of world. What else would you like to share with your people today? A step that they can take in addition to the writing that can help eliminate these 3 things, doubt, worry, fear, for them before they take your program, without taking your program? Is there something else you could want to share?
Well, as I mentioned, we will do a private screening with them, and we're happy to do that, and there's no charge for that. One of the things about this technology is we hear a lot of people talking about how they overcome doubt, worry, and fear. And what we are talking about here is completely removing it, which is different. And I know that might seem like a difficult concept to grasp, because we're talking about a change in consciousness, and the only way to fully understand it is to experience it. So I would highly encourage you to take advantage of this opportunity while it's available to experience it for yourself, and come get a private screening and see for yourself.
Yeah, and I'm going to encourage that too, because it's very clear the difference between overcoming and eliminating. It's like, do I have to climb the mountain, or is just the mountain's not there? It's a completely different thing. One, you have to, I don't know if it's necessarily strain, but you certainly have to exert, you certainly have to focus. You're overcoming, you're climbing over, you're something, and you wake up and it's not there. It's the exact opposite of Jack and the Beanstalk. The beanstalk is there, and the next day you wake up and it's gone. It's like, oh, there is I don't know how appropriate, but there's a cute story. There's a thing in the Vedic literature where they talk about there was a time that the mountains had wings and they moved around all the time, which meant that you could go to sleep and your neighbors or your family were across the street or down the block, and you could wake up and now it's a 3-day trek over through a mountain to get there. And it drove, and everybody was going nuts. So they went to some great sage or saint or something at the time. And obviously this is a long time ago, because we don't remember that about mountains. And I don't know what else the story is telling us. But they go to this great sage and they say, can you get him to stop? So in the Vedic tradition, when one of these great sages or teachers comes along, all the beings bow to them and prostrate before them. So as he approaches the mountains, they're all greatly delighted to experience his blessings. There's a concept called darshan, which is just being around enlightened people, that you pick up their good energy. And so they all bow to him and they say, oh, we're so grateful you're here. Whatever you want to do, we're happy to serve you in any way. What would you like? And he just said, stay there, so that they would just stay where they were and the mountains would stop moving around. I don't know what that has to do with things. I love your generous offer. So how do you make money? If you're going to do this very powerful thing for free, how do you make money? Is that your 3 programs that you have, that you work more advanced with people?
Well, what we do is, usually what happens 9 times out of 10, or even a higher fraction of that number, 9 point something out of 10, when people experience the MindFlavors technology, they want in, because it's so transformative right there on the spot. And then if we can see that they're ready, and when I say that they're ready, I mean they're really ready for change. Everybody goes through subconscious resistance, and it's not a bad thing. It's the thing that keeps stability in our experience. However, most of that stability is based on old programming for most people, and so what we're doing is shifting that around and changing that. So if we can see that someone is truly ready for change, and ready means that they're willing to do what it takes. And when I say that, our program is very easy to do. It's about between 20 and 30 minutes a day, broken up into small pieces, doing very simple things like watching a little 4.5-minute video. But they're just as easy not to do. And that's how the subconscious resistance can trick us into not doing the things that are going to make us have progression. So we also coach our members every single step of the way, right from the very beginning. And we have a 100% success rate with our members. Every one of them have outcomes that are literally blowing their minds and transforming their lives in ways that they didn't ever think were possible. And really across the board, our focus is to initially work specifically with entrepreneurs and coaches who are sharing their work with the world, so that we could assist them in bridging that gap of believing that they deserve to be paid for their work. And because so many spiritual healers they don't feel comfortable about being paid for the work that they're doing, and they deserve to be paid for their work. And this is a process of consciousness. That's just old programmings that are in the subconscious that are blocking them from believing that they deserve to have that. All we do is we change those programmings, we clear that out, and suddenly people show up left and right and their work just flows. And our members describe it as they used to have dreams that were way out there, and today they're living them.
Fabulous. That's fabulous. I know a lot because I run into similar things with the people that I work with. The programming, the examples we use are, we're taught that we're not worthy. We get whatever tradition you follow. You're going to get your rewards after you die. But meanwhile, the people who are running those organizations are living in some of the wealthiest estates on the planet. You also have the whole thing about self-value. I just want to bring out some of the things that people may find that shifting. How much I'm worth. How much is what I'm offering worth? There's the whole imposter syndrome that we're all aware of, which is, how can I help you if I'm not a multimillionaire already? That kind of stuff. The belief that I need to get permission from somebody else, because when we were kids, to leave the room, to go down the hall, you needed the hall pass, you needed the, whatever it was, the teacher's permission, the shop owner's permission, the parents' permission. And, it sounds like, and I don't want to oversimplify it, but it sounds like a lot of what you're doing is basically helping people grow up and leave behind the childhood. I don't want to say it's just the belief patterns that no longer serve them, that don't help them show up and be the best that they can be, show up and have the best experiences that they can have. I really want to support you, and I think what the audience would like to hear, if you don't mind, is you mentioned your experiences. We mentioned the doubt, worry, etc. You mentioned how people are having different, very profound experiences in different areas of life. Could you just give me 2 different areas of life that people have noticed something significant happen, and give me a quick before and after?
Sure. Relationships. We've had a number of people who were on the verge of divorce, and now they're happily back in their relationships. Money. We've had people have all kinds of levels of money drop out of the sky. One person, I think 1 or 2 days into the program, $15,000 check from the insurance company on a claim that they were not supposed to get. People we had one woman who had been working year after year to break through her glass ceiling. She was quite successful, but she couldn't get past that certain point. We guided her through the process. She did the technology. She, right after that, had her best year ever. I mean, these things, we're hearing them left and right in all different areas of people's lives.
And health issues as well?
We've had actually spontaneous healings happen right from the first viewing. Now, we don't make any health claims on it. I believe what's happening is many health conditions are a result of subconscious patterns that are out of balance, causing the human being to be out of balance. And when we eliminate those out of balance patterns, the body comes back into alignment on its own. And this is what the MindFlavors technology is doing in all aspects of our being. And we hear our members telling us all the time they feel smarter. They're able to handle things so much more easily. They don't get flustered. They don't get overwhelmed. They don't have to plan anymore. They just flow with life and things fall into place. We have an expression that we use in our MindFlavors family: the better it gets, the better it gets. Because that's exactly what just keeps happening, and they keep seeing it. We've now been doing this for 1.5 years with our members, and just today we did a Facebook Live with a group of them, and one of them was in our very first group. She's still having amazing benefits today. She's still expanding beyond anything that she thought was possible, and she's already a very spiritual, highly evolved being.
That sounds great. One of the things about health is I was at a lecture that Deepak Chopra gave way back in like I want to say 84, maybe 85. And he went through all of this research about the different cells in your body and how long they can reproduce and fix themselves and all of that stuff. And it's outrageous. I mean, some of these things will last for thousands of years. And he said, so the question comes up is if all of the different cells in your body are made to do this process and last a long time, he said, then the question comes up, why do we age? And he said, the only thing that we can come up with about why we age is we think we're supposed to. And so when we talk about your shifting their thinking, I can't help but think that that also will have applications in aging more slowly, reversal of aging, whatever you want to, whatever term, which I think is also a very exciting thing. So, what's your global plan? Are you going to take over the world in every educational system, or what do you got going, Carl?
Well, it's funny you say that. Someone just recently was looking at, who was a very intuitive person, said that they could see that that was going to happen. Right now, I'm thoroughly enjoying the process of watching people go through this transformation. There's nothing more rewarding for me than what I'm seeing on a day-to-day basis. And quite honestly, it brings me to tears of joy every single day. The things that I see happening in people's lives, it's mind-boggling. I just didn't even know these things were possible. And we're seeing it across the board with everyone. So today was the first day that we actually did a group discussion outside of our private members area. And so we're just now starting to get this out to the world. But yes, we would love to have everybody experience it. Everyone deserves to be free from that limited thinking that is just pulling them down for no reason. There's really no benefit for it.
So I have an intuitive or guidance or whatever hit. Are you interested in hearing it?
Sure.
You should start thinking that this should be in the educational systems, and you should pick a country you want to start with. And you've got everything all copyrighted and intellectually protected and all that, so it comes from you. Then pick a country and think where you want it to get started, and shoot for no less than 100,000 people to be involved in this the first time around. And then I look forward to seeing, if you decide to do this, how that shows up for you.
Awesome. Well, you're now the second intuitive person to say this, so I'm open to all the possibilities.
Well, we're trying to make really fast changes in the world, and that's exactly what you've been given, is fast changes literally overnight, which is what we need at this time in the world, because if we can change everybody's mind, this can be the only pandemic instead of the first pandemic. So, Yeah.
It's interesting you say that, because when I first learned about the writing process, I kind of learned a little bits and pieces at a time, and then I refined it myself. But when I was first using it and realized how powerful it was, I didn't understand why they didn't teach this in schools. So there you have it, come full circle.
Yeah, because somebody has to, and it looks like it's in your ballpark, Carl. All right. I just want to do, I'm going to let you do a quick, 5-sentence recap of the key things people can do today. And go ahead and mention your websites and how they can get a free little thing with you. And then we're going to wrap up. So.
Okay. One other quick thing I'll mention, because I didn't really get a chance to talk about this. There is a third component to the work that we do, and it is a highly accelerated breath technique that releases the cellular memory in the body that's connected with the old patterns too. So it really is the MindFlavors is what's freeing the mind, and this product is called Invigorate, and that's what's clearing out the cellular memory in the body. So we're working with the mind and the body throughout this process.
Perfect. And I would expect that you would have been doing something on that level too. I figured it was one of your 3 30-day things you must have gotten in there somewhere, because I don't even want to go into why, but we get that. So good.
So you can start, if you'd like, by downloading the ebook, the free ebook, at mindflavors.com/ebook. And that gives you all the instructions of how to do the writing process. Everything that's required to do that process is right in there. You have templates that can get you started, get you, up and running even tonight. And if you're ready to take things to a much more accelerated level, we also still use the writing in our program too. So, but if you'd like to really take things to an accelerated level and give it a try yourself to begin with, then you can go to mindflavors.com/VIP and sign up for a free private screening with us.
That sounds so good. And I want to thank you for being on the show today. I think the possibility that you're offering is huge for the world. I think the possibility itself is a boundary breaker, because so much of what we believe in our own individual universe is limiting beliefs about what's possible for each of us and what's possible for the world. And I think what you're sharing is so in alignment with our vision of a totally fulfilled world with totally empowered individuals who are free from suffering of any kind, worry, doubt, strain, and who live a very fulfilled life where they want what they want and they get it without damaging anybody or anything, that everything is in that complete frictionless flow of nature. So I wish you great success in all of your endeavors and all of your work. We do want to have your sweet partner on the show sometime, so have her go and do that too. I'm looking forward to that. And thank you so much for being here and for sharing your gifts with the world.
Well, thank you so much for having me, David, and look forward to coming back again.
Thank you for listening to another helpful, fun, and life-changing episode of Here We Come to Save the Day with David Adelson. To access the show notes and additional resources, go to herewecometosavetheday.com. If you've enjoyed the show and find it helpful and fun, please leave us a review and share with a friend. Tell us issues troubling you or questions you have. We're here to help you. That's what Here We Come to Save the Day is all about. Till next time.